Hey everybody, Isaac here with Zico. In this video, I'm going to walk you through something called a LinkedIn journey map. I'm really excited to put this video out. The reason that I'm doing this video and made this flowchart is because a lot of people, they don't really know how to use LinkedIn. And so what that means is for us as a service provider, when someone says, well, what do you do on LinkedIn? The underlying issue usually is that they don't understand how LinkedIn works, and so that's why they ask what we do, because they don't know how to do LinkedIn. And so I created this really simple flow chart from the beginning to the end, and I'm just going to walk you through it. So this is, of course, assuming that you are a B2B company, business to business, that you are looking to generate leads, and that you have a product or service that someone actually wants. So assuming all that's true, the first thing you're going to have to do is market research, and you're going to want to use LinkedIn Advanced Search, which you have to have Sales Navigator for. You're going to need Sales Nav to do that. So you do market research. How many people are on LinkedIn that fit what you are offering? And then you got to profile those people and like what do they want, what do they need, and then make your profile be the solution to that group of people. And then you're going to do custom connection requests, right? So you got your group of people. You're going to send out a lot of customized connection requests. And once that happens and they push accept, that is when the unicorn happens. You are connected on LinkedIn. So once that happens, let's just zoom out a little bit. That's where things really start to get exciting. So you have to do your due diligence with your market research and get everything planned. But once they connect, what you do is you add them to your CRM, and then begins a relationship. And since it's LinkedIn, the relationship is mostly through LinkedIn messaging. And you'll see down here there is a path for email. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But once someone connects, people feel the temptation that they should just do a bunch of status updates. And there's a place for that, but typically I tell people that the money is in the messaging. And doing status updates is like shouting in a loud room. The money's in the messaging. So that's where we focus, is in the conversation. And through the conversation, you're going to figure out if someone is actually a good lead or not. So if they're not, you wish them the best of luck. And if they are, then you figure out where they're at in the sales cycle. And if they're at the end of the sales cycle, then you give them the call to action right away, which is usually a phone call or an email. But a lot of people, they aren't at the very end of the sales cycle the day that you ask, and that's totally fine. That's just sales and life. And what happens is when someone still has to go a little bit farther along in the sales cycle, that's when you're going to have to stay top of mind with that person, and it's going to look like a number of things. You've got conversations, Merry Christmas. You'd be shocked at how many people, when you say Merry Christmas, they go, oh wow, hey, I'm sorry, I haven't read your messages. Let's do a phone call next week. So an ongoing conversation, the door's always open. You can endorse their skills, you can send them marketing collateral, all kinds of stuff. And really this box, if it was a real timeline, would be quite a bit longer, because this is where the majority of the time is spent. But eventually, when someone reaches the end of the sales cycle, there is a call to action. And so as soon as the call to action happens, that's when you have to plug them into your sales funnel. Now, it's really important, if you're doing lead generation on LinkedIn, that you have a sales funnel. And the reason is because if you don't, your leads will just fall through the cracks. And what that means is, if you're paying for LinkedIn as a service, your cost per acquisition is going to be too high, because your conversion rates are going to be too low. So you want to make sure that you have a sales funnel in place. And that's really, in a nutshell, the journey map from market research to the call to action, to your sales funnel, to your goal. Now let's talk about little section down here. What you'll find is that there are a lot of people who are going to accept your connection requests, but they don't reply. And usually they don't reply for one of two reasons. Number one is that they just have their email notifications turned off and they're not sitting in front of LinkedIn waiting for a message. So they just might not even know that you're messaging them. And they might not be on LinkedIn very often. That's totally fine, totally normal. Another reason is that replying with a message is just too inconvenient. In other words, they're just a little lazy and logging in, they just don't want to deal with it. And you know what? That's fine too. Because what happens is when you're using LinkedIn to generate leads, you're not buying a list and consuming it, you're building and growing an asset. So as every month goes by, more and more people are connected to you on LinkedIn. That means that more and more people are being added to your CRM. There's going to be a group that they're not as engaged in here, and that's totally fine. You're getting a sideline benefit asset because you can start doing email campaigns to the unresponsive group. It is a fantastic, fantastic resource. And this isn't quite in the flowchart, but you can take that same info from your CRM, like their email list, and you already know what their names are, you know what their job titles are, their industry. You can take that group and use them on a say Facebook or Google AdWords as a custom audience, and it's really, really specific because you know their job title and their industry. So it's a really fantastic asset to build out, and a lot of people are going to be responsive to this, the relationship building through the message sequencing, and then you've also got a huge potential for doing email outreach as well. So that is what the journey looks like from the first handshake when you send the connection request to they are a client. Hope that helps. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of doing it.